My family had a tradition. Every year, all our relatives visited us and stayed for a whole week after Thanksgiving. Press like and I'll introduce you to everyone. Those are my parents. They used to be famous athletes. Look at all those medals and cups. And that's Uncle Peter. He was a rock star. Rock and roll. Peter, get the guitar off the table. And that cute, grumpy old lady's my grandmother. She was a great cook and ran a cooking channel on YouTube. That beauty is my cousin Miranda, a world-famous model. And finally, that's me, Chloe. Hi. As you can see, everyone in my family was successful. Everyone except for me. There was nothing special about me. Of course, I really wanted to find my vocation and become popular. But it seemed I had been standing in line for ice cream when everyone got their talents. Grandma shouted that the turkey was ready and we all came to the table. Then, everyone turned to me and started asking me about my school life. Do you feel like sinking through the floor during such interrogations too? Chloe, you have a lot of friends, right? Probably a ton of admirers too. I heard there's going to be a talent contest at your school next week. You're participating, aren't you? Oh, I felt so awkward. Please kill me now. I'd love to, but I don't have any talents. I blushed and admitted that I was a nobody at school. Maybe that was my real talent, being the most unpopular girl ever? I had been in love with a guy called Dave forever. But here's what happened every time I tried to talk to him. Dave, hi, do you want to go out with me? Oh, I'm going to be sick. Whenever I got nervous, my stomach would start doing backflips, or I'd start hiccuping, or forget my own name. I had a talent for getting into ridiculous situations. One day, I choked on a gum at recess and started coughing. The gum flew out of my mouth and, oops, got into the hair of the school queen, Lydia. I was done for. Ew, is that a watermelon gum? I'm so sorry. It was an accident. I'll turn your life into a living nightmare. She kept her word and started bullying me. One day, my parents tried to help me become popular. They wanted me to be an athlete, just like them. Here's a little spoiler for you. Nothing good came of it. It's embarrassing to talk about, but for the subscribers of Private Diary, I will try. I followed my parents' advice and joined the basketball club. At the very first match, I threw the ball into my team's basket. The audience booed me, and I realized that sports weren't for me. So, I'm not exactly popular, as you can imagine. Uncle Peter choked on the turkey when he heard my story. He said that there were no losers in our family. And then he said that the turkey was a little dry. And then he got a slap on the head from my grandmother for those words. And then, oh sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, my uncle said he would teach me how to be popular. Teach me? I'll make a rock star out of you. If you're interested, of course. Of course! Maybe I'll even take part in the contest then. After dinner, Uncle Peter brought his guitar and told me to play something. I'd never played the guitar before, so I held it in my hands, unsure where to begin. How was I supposed to turn it on again? Music is in our blood. Just close your eyes and let your hands do the work. Pfft, easy! I squeezed my eyes shut and started to pluck the strings. And you know what? I liked it. However, when I opened my eyes, I saw that my uncle's face was distorted with horror. I think my ears are bleeding. That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I wasn't going to become a popular musician then. I got upset, but my uncle said he would help me anyway. Do you know the guys from the Black Panthers band? Of course I knew about them. All the girls in town were pining after those twins, and I was no exception. I know those guys. I'll ask them to let you join them on stage at the concert tomorrow. You will definitely become the most popular girl in school then. I couldn't sing though, so I'd probably be pelted with rotten tomatoes. But my uncle said that I would just be lip-syncing. And then he gave me some concert tickets to my classmates. I doubted it was a good idea. I didn't want to become popular by cheating. But the next day, I went to school. Yes, haters, we didn't have a Thanksgiving break, haha. Lydia was bragging that she would win the contest. And then she hit on Dave in front of me. I got so pissed off that I started hiccuping. It was on. I knew how to play dirty too. I smugly declared that I had something to brag about too. Tonight, I'm going to be performing with the Black Panthers. You can all come to the show and watch. With those words, I threw the tickets in the air. May the cleaners forgive me. That evening, Uncle Peter gave me a ride to the concert hall on his bike. The fans were already waiting for their favorite band there. I saw my classmates in the crowd. Then, the twins came and greeted my uncle. OMG! The Black Panthers were even more handsome in real life than in the photos. Are you Chloe? It's time to shine. I pinched myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. And then, I smugly went to the stage with the twins. Lydia turned green with envy. We went on stage, and at first, everything was awesome. I held the guitar and pretended to sing. But then, I was a pro at getting into trouble, remember? Well, it happened again. I stumbled over a chord, the music turned off, and everyone heard my real voice. Oh, my ears! I should have brought Rotten Tomatoes. Uncle and the twins finished the performance without me and got a standing ovation. I felt utterly humiliated. That evening, Uncle Peter came up to me and said that he had done everything he could. Apparently, music is not your thing. Grandma heard our conversation and decided to take everything into her own hands. All this talk of music. Chloe, I'm sure you're going to become a brilliant chef like me. She picked up her phone and signed me up for a baking competition at an autumn fair. Wow, I wish she would slow down. After all, the only thing I ever did in the kitchen was add milk to the cereal. Don't worry, I'll teach you how to make a perfect pumpkin pie. My recipe is so simple, even a child could handle it. I really wanted to find my vocation and demonstrate my skills at the school contest. So, I agreed to become my grandmother's student. We bought all the ingredients and Grandma started to teach me. We probably looked like two witches brewing a potion. Hee. And that's the pie I made. It looked like it had been struck by lightning. But what mattered was it tasted, delicious. I finally found something I was good at. The next day, I headed to the baking fair. I was walking on air. I must say right away that it was impossible to cheat there. All the participants had to cook their pies in front of the audience. I tried really hard because Dave was one of the judges. I wanted to impress him for once. I didn't want him to think that all I could do was hiccup and get into trouble. I was about to put the pie in the oven when I heard a familiar chuckle behind me. Chloe, I see you're not giving up and still trying to find your calling, huh? I've already found it. Turns out I'm a great cook. You will have a worthy opponent at the talent contest this year. Is that so? Let's hug and make up then. Like I would believe she wanted that. It was clear she was planning something nasty. I didn't want to hug Lydia, but she came over and squeezed me like a boa constrictor. Can't breathe. I chased my classmate away and put the pie in the oven. In 40 minutes, my culinary masterpiece was ready. I must say that the pie looked amazing. Dave and the rest of the judges went from stand to stand and tried the pies of all the participants. I was anxiously waiting for my turn. Grandma stood in the audience and cheered me on. Finally, Dave came up to me. He took a bite of my pie and immediately turned green and spat it out. What? Chloe! Ugh, did you use dirt instead of flour? I've never tried anything nastier. Grandma got mad at him for criticizing her best recipe and took a bite herself. However, she couldn't swallow it either. I'm sorry, Chloe, but it seems that cooking isn't your thing either. I did something dumb then, and threw away the rest of the pie. And then I saw that Lydia was giggling. Oh, poor Chloe. The competition is getting closer, and you still haven't found anything you're good at. You're never going to be popular. She must have done something to my pie while hugging me. I wished I had proof. I would get back at her for that. That evening, my relatives brainstormed, trying to help me find my vocation. Everyone was arguing and shouting over each other. And then, my cousin Miranda stamped her foot, and everyone shut up. I'm taking Chloe under my wing. She looked me up and down, patted my cheeks, pulled my ears, and exclaimed that I was actually quite pretty. Thanks, I guess. What's next then? Follow in my footsteps, dear cousin, and become a model. Of course, it sounded tempting, but I doubted it was a good idea. After all, every time one of my relatives tried to help me, things only got worse. I'll teach you everything I know. Your looks aren't the only thing that matters. You need to become more confident. Then, my cousin told me a fascinating story. You know who Marilyn Monroe is, right? That woman was an icon in the 1950s. But one day, some envious journalists said that anyone would look beautiful in expensive dresses. The actress accepted the challenge and posed in a potato sack dress for a photo shoot. She still looked stunning. Those pictures were a huge success. So, the journalists had to eat their words. That story inspired me, and I decided to try to follow Miranda's advice. She taught me how to use makeup, pose, and walk the runway. I still had to work on my confidence, though. Show me the boy you like. Once you win him over, your self-esteem will skyrocket. As you know, I liked Dave. My cousin gave me a couple of tips on flirting, and I got down to business. I smiled mysteriously, giggled sweetly at his jokes, and blew him kisses. But no matter what I did, Dave didn't fall for me. I was ready to give up. But then, Miranda came to my school to find out about my progress. Has Dave asked you out yet? Are you kidding me? He won't notice me even if I come to school in a potato sack. Oh dear, don't despair. Give him time. Sooner or later, he will see how amazing you are. And then, a miracle happened. Dave looked in our direction and turned red like a tomato. He timidly came up to us and said that he had never met such a beautiful girl. Would you go on a date with me? My heart started pounding. It was finally happening. I nodded happily, but then I saw him kiss Miranda's hand. What? Had he been talking about her? I'd never felt so dumb in my life. I had been trying so hard, and for what? I got mad and ran home. I locked myself in my room and screamed into my pillow. My relatives started banging on the door and coming up with new ideas for helping me find my vocation, but I didn't let them in. That's enough! Leave me alone! You're only making it worse! I wanted them to leave and stop meddling in my life. I no longer minded being a nobody with no talents. I came to school the next day in a terrible mood. The talent contest was going to take place after classes. I was the only one who wasn't planning on taking part in it. Dave got a standing ovation for his magic trick, sawing the principal in half. Lydia came on stage to dance. She always did the same thing and won every year. Then, the doors of the hall burst open, and a hurricane burst in. I'm kidding, it was just my relatives. They saw me and started shouting and waving a clown costume around. What were they up to? Chloe, baby, we finally understood what your vocation is. Look at what we've got. What? Were they going to dress me up as a clown? Hell no! Not in front of the whole school! I decided I wouldn't embarrass myself anymore. I had to get out of there. My family was standing by the door, so I decided to hide from them backstage. I got there right as Lydia finished her performance and almost knocked her off her feet. Chloe, you're so clumsy! Shh! Please be quiet. I'm hiding from my family. Don't give me away. Lydia smiled slyly and pushed me on stage. That witch! She would answer for that too. Everyone thought that I was about to perform and stared at me with curiosity. I almost fainted. My legs got weak and I felt nauseous. And then, something in me seemed to break. I realized that I wanted to tell them about all the crazy things that have been happening to me lately. So, I picked up the microphone. Hi! How are you? I'm Chloe, but you all know me as the girl that always gets into ridiculous situations. And then, I told them the story about my cool relatives that sometimes drove me nuts, about Lydia ruining my pumpkin pie, about my clumsy attempts at making Dave like me. I lost myself in telling the story. I had a good sense of humor, so even talking about something embarrassing wasn't that bad. And then, I realized that everyone was laughing. Not at me, but with me. When I finished my performance, my classmates were wiping away tears and clapping. The principal came on stage and said through laughter that he loved my stand-up. I think we all agree that Chloe is the winner this year. Wow! I couldn't believe my ears! Was that my calling? I knew how to get into ridiculous situations and tell stories about it. Thanks to that, I became the most popular girl in school. And now, I'm going to further develop my talent as a stand-up comedian. Soon, my relatives left. I was grateful to them for their help, but I only found my calling when I stopped trying to copy them and chose my own path. Dave finally noticed me and asked me out. I didn't even need to take revenge on Lydia. She punished herself when she accidentally put the powder she'd used to ruin my pie into her tea. Ew, what is this? Look how green her face is. Now tell me, do you have any funny family stories? But first, please like this video.